Other questions?
Looks like we have a couple. Maybe in the back there.
Yeah. So I have a question, which is just: is there any sense in which Oulipo feels threatened by computers? Or I guess not maybe threatened on behalf of themselves, but kind of threatened on behalf of like the world or literature or potential literature in general. Because like here you go that one of the ways they describe themselves is like the rats. They build their own labyrinths. But now you've got computers that can labyrinths that can build themselves, and like orders of magnitudes larger than the rat could ever hope to escape or even comprehend. And to some extent, like the Oulipians are always in control of these machines, these like forms that they've created. And to some extent, this is like the kind of apocalyptic, like gray goo end of the world scenario of those machines, where machines could build exponential amounts of literature that no one would ever read and no one would ever write. So, yeah, well, yeah. So to what extent is it like?
Is that what you're asking though? Yeah.
Well, is it like out of control? And are they kind of like, whoa, this is too far? It's gone too far.
I don't know, my knee-jerk reaction to that is that, and maybe Robin would disagree with this, but somebody still has to make those programs, the program themselves. That sounds like an inherently pretty illogical statement I just made. But, the idea of a computer or of some other generative device getting out of control and, destroying things is a pretty seductive thought experiment, but at least as far as I'm concerned, I don't despair for the ability of the Oulipo to take control when it needs to and to ignore the proliferation that is, exponential and asymptotic or whatever. And maybe I'm misunderstanding your question, but no.
I just wanted to toss in, I think the trend now, we're in a very kind of computer-centric place as a civilization, and we just kind of think, oh, in 5 years from now, computers will do everything that a thinking person can do. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I was just reading today, like, the state has essentially stopped using computers to evaluate student essays because they had changed the essay requirements where the student would have to be able to distinguish fact from fiction in order to write the essay correctly. And they're essentially like, well, and at the best, a computer will be able to do that 100 years from now. And that's just like something that's so far beyond kind of what's possible. So I don't know, I think like definitely computers are awesome and they're doing all kinds of amazing things, but you can't quite get too far off that direction. I was just at a conference a couple of months ago, and it was all kind of about the intersections of computers and writing, and people are doing really amazing things, and like there are these two entrepreneurs who are essentially like creating these wholly computer-generated newspapers, where basically these computers would just go scrape mammoth amounts of information from the internet by like zip code, and they would like create custom-made stories for your particular location. And like basically it was all computer generated. It was supposed to read like a feature article that you would read in a newspaper. And these guys were like so excited about like, look what we did with these awesome computers. And like they put some of the stories up for you to read. And
USA Today?
The Oulipo doesn't. USA Today would be a staggering improvement. Yeah, they don't have anything to worry about.
But on the flip side, I sort of largely agree with that. That the rumors of the sort of robot takeover are exaggerated. But
it's at least 5 years.
But on the flip side, is I wish I could remember the URL. This is really worth a look for. People who are interested in things like this. really recently, like less than a month ago, someone released an application on the web that just listens to like all the tweets, or a significant sample of the tweets, and there's these APIs now. You can use like language APIs to plug in some language and like I want to know what it rhymes with, or just like I want to be able to kind of like analyze language in this really large scale computational way. So they've used those, and long story short, they're making sonnets out of tweets, and they're actually kind of beautiful. They have this in part because it's not computer language, it's human language, but it's being kind of recombined according to this, you know, kind of amazing formal structure, and they're awesome. Like the computer, like the program knows stress, and it knows how to like pick the right tweets to make these sort of strange and sort of, you know, not quite right poems, and they're actually pretty wonderful.
Yeah, that's basically, we just explained it how Google Translate works. Like basically, these computers just know how to take these things that have already been translated by humans and combine them in ways that are going to work.
Okay, but now I have to say that as the whatever, like lonely humanist, there are already people who make those kinds of sonnets. There are many of those sonnets being written every day already, and there's a reason people don't read them. There's a big difference between being good and being awesome. So you know, I mean that's whatever. That's a little off the subject, but it's so you know. But it is, that's interesting. The minute you said it, I was like interested. I wanted to read those sonnets, but I have a feeling that they would look. My guess is they would not look that different than sonneteers across whom I have come.